B-2 Spirit, why does it cost more than a gold private jet? Why does a single aircraft cost more than a gold private jet? Not slightly more, not 2 or 3 times more. We're talking about a machine that costs over $2 billion per unit. The B-2 Spirit, one of the most expensive aircraft ever built. But here's the real question. What exactly are you paying for? Because at first glance, it doesn't look that different. No visible weapons, no massive engines hanging outside, no aggressive fighter jet shape. Just a smooth, almost simple flying wing. So why is it more expensive than almost anything that flies? The answer is not in what you see, it's in what you don't. This is part 2 of a 10-part series about the B-2 Spirit. If you want to understand the real engineering behind stealth, cost, and modern air power, subscribe now so you don't miss the next parts, because this story goes much deeper than most people think. A simple comparison. Let's start with a comparison. A luxury private jet can cost anywhere between $50 and $100 million. Even the most expensive ones rarely go above that. And those aircraft are incredibly advanced. Fast, comfortable, efficient, packed with modern avionics. Now imagine multiplying that cost by 20. That's where the B-2 sits. So what makes up that difference? The first factor is stealth, execution. The first major factor is stealth, not just the concept, the execution. Stealth is not a single feature, it's an entire system of design decisions working together. Every surface on the B-2 is shaped to control how radar waves interact with it. Angles are not random, curves are not aesthetic. Everything is calculated. Even the smallest detail can increase radar visibility. And when you are building an aircraft designed to avoid detection, even a small mistake is unacceptable. This level of precision is extremely expensive, but shape alone is not enough. The second factor is materials. The second major factor is specialized radar-absorbing materials. These materials don't just reflect radar energy, they absorb it, convert it, reduce the signal that returns to the radar. But these materials are not simple coatings. They are complex, layered, and sensitive. They require constant inspection and maintenance. Even small damage, a scratch, a dent, can degrade stealth performance dramatically. That means after almost every mission, parts of the aircraft need to be checked, repaired, or reapplied. This is one of the hidden costs. You're not just paying for the aircraft, you're paying for the ability to keep it invisible enough to do its job. Look at the diagram on screen. The red zone shows where radar energy is reflected. The B-2's materials turn that red zone into heat. That heat is still energy, but it doesn't travel back to the radar. The third factor, production numbers. Now let's talk about production. Only 21 B-2 aircraft were ever built. That's it. Compare that to commercial aircraft where hundreds or even thousands of units are produced. Mass production reduces cost. The B-2 never had that advantage. Every single unit carried a massive portion of the total development cost. Which brings us to the next factor. The fourth factor, research and development. Research and development. The B-2 was developed over decades during the Cold War, at a time when penetrating heavily defended airspace was considered nearly impossible. Engineers had to solve problems that had never been solved before. How do you design an aircraft that minimizes radar reflection from every angle? How do you hide engine heat? How do you maintain stability without traditional vertical tails? These were not small challenges. They required entirely new approaches, new simulations, new materials, new manufacturing techniques. All of that research costs money, a lot of it. And since only a small number of aircraft were built, that cost had to be absorbed into each one. Here's a concrete number. The B-2's radar cross-section, RCS, is often estimated at less than 0.1 square meters. A conventional bomber like the B-52 is closer to 100 square meters. That's 1,000 times smaller. That difference did not happen by accident. It cost billions. The fifth factor, Avionics and systems. Now consider avionics. The B-2 is not just a bomber, it is a flying system. It integrates navigation, targeting, communication, and stealth management into one platform. It can operate over intercontinental distances, strike targets with precision, and return without being detected in time to stop it. That requires extremely advanced systems, secure communication links, real-time data integration, redundant systems to ensure reliability during missions that can last over 30 hours. Everything inside the aircraft is designed for reliability and precision. Failure is not an option. Now, let's talk about something most people don't consider: maintenance infrastructure. The B-2 cannot just be parked anywhere. It requires specialized hangars, climate-controlled environments, carefully managed temperature and humidity to preserve its stealth materials. Ground crews need specific training. Equipment must be precise. This is not a typical aircraft you can operate from any base. The entire ecosystem around it is expensive, and that cost is part of the overall program. Another major factor is mission capability. The B-2 can strike targets anywhere in the world from a single base without needing forward deployment. That changes strategic planning completely. Instead of relying on multiple bases, refueling chains, and support aircraft, the B-2 can operate independently at a global scale. That level of reach has enormous value. It's not just about cost, it's about what the aircraft allows you to do and what it allows you to avoid. Avoid detection, avoid escalation, avoid large-scale deployment. In many cases, the ability to strike without being seen is more valuable than raw firepower. The eighth factor: cost versus luxury. Now let's address a common misconception. Some people believe the cost means inefficiency, that it's overpriced or not worth it. But cost in this context is not about luxury, it's about capability. The B-2 is not designed to be used every day like a standard aircraft. It is designed for specific, high-risk missions, where other aircraft would be detected and potentially destroyed. In those scenarios, the cost becomes secondary, because the alternative could be mission failure. Now compare that to a gold private jet. Yes, gold is expensive. Yes, luxury materials increase cost. But those costs are superficial. They don't fundamentally change what the aircraft can do. The B-2's cost is different. It is tied directly to performance, to survivability, to strategic impact. Every dollar is connected to a capability. The ninth factor: evolution and upgrades. Now let's talk about evolution. Technology does not stand still. Radar systems are improving. Detection methods are evolving. New frequencies, new algorithms, new ways to track even low observable targets. This means the B-2 must constantly adapt. Upgrades, software improvements, system enhancements. Keeping it relevant requires ongoing investment. So the cost is not just in building it, it's in maintaining its advantage over time. This is the hidden reality of advanced military technology. You are not buying a finished product, you are maintaining a moving edge. The 10th factor: limitations, honest assessment. Now, here's something important. The B-2 is not perfect. It can be detected under certain conditions: low-frequency radar, infrared systems, passive detection networks. No aircraft is truly invisible. But again, that's not the goal. The goal is to reduce detection enough to control the engagement, to be seen too late, to be tracked too slowly, to complete the mission before an effective response can be organized. And in that role, the B-2 is extremely effective. That effectiveness is what you are paying for, not perfection, but advantage. Putting it all together. Now let's bring it all together. Why does the B-2 cost more than a gold private jet? Because it is not just an aircraft. It is a combination of advanced physics, material science, aerospace engineering, and strategic design. It represents decades of research, extremely limited production, constant maintenance,
and a unique capability that very few systems in the world can match. It is expensive because solving the problem it was designed for is incredibly difficult, and very few alternatives exist. Let me give you one more number. The B-2's operating cost per flight hour is roughly $150,000. A gold private jet might cost $5,000 per hour, 30 times less. But the gold jet cannot cross defended airspace without being shot down. That difference is what you are paying for. What comes next? Part 3. In Part 3 of this series, we will go even deeper. We will break down radar cross-section, how it's actually measured, why some aircraft appear larger or smaller on radar than they physically are, and how small design changes can dramatically affect detection range. If you truly want to understand stealth, you need to understand the math behind it. So subscribe now and don't miss the next part. Because once you understand how detection really works, you will never look at aircraft the same way again. The B-2 is not expensive by accident. It is expensive because it solves one of the hardest problems in modern warfare. And that problem is being seen.